Hello and welcome to Quest for Fanghorn Castle. I'm going to be showing you a day in the game, and that's going to take the place over a course of 3 phases, which will include an upkeep phase, a dark phase, and a light phase. And it'll show some of the game mechanics, some of the game strategy, and some of how the theme ties into both. Now here we have a setup for 3 players. You can see each player has a player board which describes several things, including their unique vampire powers and abilities, actions they can take in the dark and light phases, and the cost and benefits of building sanctuaries. One of the main goals of Quest for Fanghorn Castle is to build sanctuaries to cement your claim to the throne for Fanghorn Castle. So that's an integral part of the game and one of the mechanics I'll be demonstrating today. So you can see my other 2 players have already progressed on the VP board, and that's VP for vampire points or victory points, and so they're a little bit ahead of me. So I definitely want to catch up on my turn, and that's going to be my main goal, is to build a sanctuary to get VP to catch up to and hopefully surpass my opponents. Now what I'm going to do is start through the phases of the day. I have the Fanghorn crest, which means I'm the first player now. So we're going to do the upkeep phase, and I'm going to go first in the upkeep phase. Because I have the crest, I'm going to roll 1d6 to determine where the angry mob goes. And that's a 4, which happens to be on my territory. I'm this little red meeple here. In the full game, eventually the goal will be to have these be fully detailed 3D printed sculpt molds in the correct color of their representative vampire. But that's a discussion for later. So that's bad news for me, but I'm going to ignore it for right now because my main goal is to get those VP. This will affect me at the end of the turn, and we'll get to that later. So the rest of the upkeep phase includes generating resources if you have thralls. Thralls are victims that vampires take and control that do their bidding for them. Now, my other 2 opponents have thralls. I don't. So this player will get 2 wisdom, which is 2 black cubes. This player will get 2 gold, which is 2 gold cubes. And again, I have nothing at the moment. So now we progress to taking a feast. Vampires love to feast on victims. That's kind of our jam. So I'm going to strategically look at my hand of cards and see that every player has 1 victim card in their hand. And my victim card is not particularly great. I get 1 victory point or vampire point, 3 wisdom, and 5 gold. It's okay if that's what I needed, but right now I need a little bit more. And I would love to get on the board with a little more powerful set of worth from the card. So I'm going to take the calculated risk of taking the top victim card off of the deck. And let's see what we get. We've got a Duchess, which is much better. So that's 2 VP. So I'll move my token up to VP. 0 blood, which is unfortunate, but I have a decent amount of blood here. 3 wisdom, so I will take 3 black cubes. And 10 gold, which is great. So I will take 10 of these gold bars. Now this victim gets discarded because, well, we feasted on it and we no longer need it. So I still have this farmer peasant in my hand for uses later that we'll talk about. So now my other players are going to progress through the same thing. They'll do their feasts and gain their resources. And then we'll move on to the dark phase of the day. And again, as I'm the first player, I will go first. And after each day, this moves to the left, so each player has a chance to be the first player. So I'm going to, in my dark phase, look at what I need and calculate my goals and what I can do to achieve them. Right now, I am looking to get wisdom. I only have 3 wisdom, which is not going to be enough for building the sanctuary that I want to build. I'll explain that a little bit right now. Building a sanctuary is placing one of these tokens in the region that you currently inhabit. You have to pay resources to do that. And you get a bonus if you build the corresponding sanctuary in its corresponding region. Now, my other 2 players both have built sanctuaries, and I want to catch up. I want to do that. So I'm going to look at this, the keep, and see that corresponding to the keep is the spire. The spire costs 10 blood, 5 wisdom, and 7 gold. I have the 10 blood, I have the 7 gold, but I only have 3 wisdom. So my first action in my dark phase is I'm going to use the gain action to just get 3 wisdom. So I can do that to kind of even out imbalances in my resource production. But it cost me an action to do so. That's great. I now have enough to build that sanctuary when it's time later on. The next thing I'm going to do is look at what I can do with the cards that I have. I have lore cards, which are great and very powerful, but not really the right time to play them right now. I would love to have a vampire power to play, which gives me special abilities, but I don't have any. So what I'm going to do is draw a card instead of play a card. So let's see what we get here. It's another lore card, which is fine, so I'll hang on to that, and they will probably come in handy later on. If they don't come in handy for their face value of their card, I can use them to defend against attacks from my other opponents. So there are multiple uses for just about everything in this game. Nothing is a unitasker. I have strategic decisions throughout that all tie into the vampire theme. So that's going to be my 2 actions for the dark phase, which went great. I got what I wanted and got an okay card. So now that'll progress to the dark phase for the player to my left, and then the dark phase for the player to their left. And when it comes back to me, we progress to the light phase. The light phase is where a lot of action is going to take place for me. You see, I need a thrall to build a sanctuary. The dark phase and the light phase tie into the game's theme in that vampires can do certain powerful things in the dark that they can't do in the light. They can't build sanctuaries on their own. They need a thrall to do that. So I'm going to need to take a thrall. So what I'm going to do is spend 3 blood out of my 10 blood, so I'll get 2 back, to take a thrall. Now I could, again, choose from the top of the victim pile, or I could choose the card in my hand. I think once again I'm going to go for the top of the victim pile, because this card is not great, but I'm going to save it for later because it does have its use. So I'm going to draw the top card here. It's another gentry, it's the Explorer. So now I've got that as my thrall. It has a thrall effect, but it doesn't take effect right now. So now I have a thrall. Excellent. Now I can build. That's another action in the light phase. So I'm going to build with my thrall the spire in the keep. So the spire, as I mentioned before, costs 10 blood, which I've already spent 3 of it. So let's just say I had the 10 blood right now. Let's say I had the resources for it. So the 10 blood is spent. I should have calculated that a little bit better, I apologize. But let's say I had the 10 blood. The 5 wisdom I need to spend, I have 6. So we'll do that. And the 7 gold. So that's 5, 6, 7. And that is all spent. So now I can take the spire token, put it in this region, and start to calculate my victory points. Because I built it in the corresponding region, I get a 2 VP bonus right off the bat. If I didn't have the resources for it, I could have built another sanctuary, and then I would still get the sanctuary bonus, but I wouldn't get the region bonus. So I'll get 2 VP right off the bat, and I will look at my player card and see that the spire gives me 2d6 of victory points or vampire points. So I'm going to grab 2d6 and roll a 1 and a 3. That's not really great. I want more points because I'm a vampire and I want to beat my fellow vampires. I don't want that 4. So what I'm going to do is a great mechanic in this game called Sway. Sway is a push your luck dice manipulation tactic. So I'm going to spend 2 Sway, which are these gorgeous little green gems, again referring to my player board to see how many Sway it costs to change this result, and then I'm going to roll these 2 dice again, having to take the resulting number. So I'm hoping, of course, for better than 4, which is 7, so much better. I'll definitely take that. I have to, I don't really have any choice, but I'll take the 7 over the 4 any day. So that puts me up to 11, which is in just behind first place. So I'm pretty satisfied with that, but I'm not done yet. I can choose to go for a boon. The boon is a great card that, again, functions as a little bit of a reward for the player and a catch-up mechanism for the player in last place. How a boon works is I roll 1d6, and if I get a 6, I claim the boon. Look at that, I got a 6. That's fantastic. If I didn't, I could spend 1 sway to just take it. So that's a value judgment I would have to make, a strategic decision. But since I rolled a 6, I'm just going to take this. And looking at it, I get 1 VP, and the player in last place gets 5 blood and 5 gold. So that's a great catch-up mechanism for the player in last place. They'll get the 5 blood and 5 gold, and I will get 1 VP, which, look at that, ties me for first place. How about that? That's fantastic. So I'm pretty pleased with how that worked out. And now I have one more thing to do. In the play column, I have the opportunity to play any event card. Event cards are the powers and lore that I discussed earlier. Now I can choose to play any one of these. I don't have to, but let's see. I'm going to play, this one works out fantastically. Uprising. You may place or move the Angry Mob token as if you had just rolled doubles on dice. I had mentioned before that I don't want that on my region. It does bad things at the end of the day. So I'm going to play that and discard it, and I'm going to pick this up and move it onto one of my opponent's regions, which is hopefully going to be a stumbling block for them, or at least make them accommodate to it, or if not, they're going to lose some VP or a thrall, or there's a whole set of effects for that. But that worked out fantastically for me. This is a great turn. Now that passes on the light phase to the next player and the next player, and that ends the day because we've done our upkeep phase, our dark phase, and our light phase. Now this progresses to the next player, and the next day can begin as previously. So we'll do upkeep. I actually get an upkeep this time. We'll do a round of feasts, and then we'll start dark and light phases. And that has been a day in Quest for Fanghorn Castle. It worked out great for me. I'm tied for first place. I had to make some strategic decisions along the way, and the game mechanics definitely tied into the lore and theme of the game. So I'm very pleased with how that went. Thank you very much. I hope you're interested, and I'd love to talk with you more about Quest for Fanghorn Castle.